It's 5 minutes.
Yeah. We're good?
No, 5 more minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If there were like 1 or 2 minutes, that's different. A little bit more late.
When I worked there, there was a photography group. It's a photography group. And some of them I know.
So I guess I'm shutting this off.
Welcome to today's the 20th of June. Tammy, please.
Cochran?
Here.
Epley?
Here.
Gunther?
Here.
Johnson? Here. Devon?
Here.
Could we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mark, we're going to have a little change. We'll approve our minutes, and after the minutes are approved, we'll jump way back to the last page for the report on 10F, City Manager's Performance Review, and then we'll jump back to the regular schedule.
Sounds good, Mayor. And at your table is the action item or resolution that's drafted to support that. So you have that with you.
Good. And the minutes from May 5th are before you. Anyone have comments, additions? Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Motion support. Additions, corrections, anyone? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed the same, motion carries. Next, our guest is here. We like the name Woody, so we're gonna just say Woody's here. Thank you for coming. For the first time in the history, I think, of the city, Commissioner Cochran brainstormed the idea of hiring a professional evaluator to evaluate our city manager. I don't think it's been done before, Jennifer or John, you old timers. And it was an interesting process. He may describe it. It's up to you how you want to present, but welcome and have at it.
Where should I?
That'd be a great spot right there.
Right here?
Nope, there.
Right there.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's a public comment. That'll get you some bad vibes there. Over here.
Well, hello, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me to do this process. My name is Woody Smith. I have a company called Avenue ISR that's based in Traverse City, Michigan. It's been in existence since 2006 and do lots of different kinds of things, including evaluations of executive directors, CEOs, and city managers. And so I had the opportunity to speak with all 5 members of the commission, as well as 6 department heads, and ask them a series of questions that were developed by the city commission about the performance of the city manager. Listen carefully to 11 very different people sharing their opinions about how the city manager is doing, and used it to develop the report that is in your packet. I'm going to give just a brief overview of kind of the findings of the report, and then I will ask if there are questions, and happy to address any questions you have about what's in the report or what the implications might be. Overall, it is a very good performance evaluation. So both from the perspective of the people that work with the city manager every single day, the department heads who work with him, as well as from the perspective of the members of the city commission, there are some real strengths for the city manager in what is a big and complex job. Among other things, his personal commitment to the work and to delivering good results for the people of the city of Big Rapids. Everybody sort of said that, being deeply committed, person of high integrity, and being very, very effective. So some of the effectiveness relates to managing city capital projects, which is part of the day-to-day job. But there's much more to the job than that. But even there, costs have run high. There have been delays. Keeping some of those projects on track has required dipping into and identifying new sources of funding that come through grants and other purposes. The city manager has been effective at working with the city commission and with the department heads and other members of the staff of the city of Big Rapids to be able to do that. So that's effective. I think I've heard from a lot of people that he provides good, sound financial management for the affairs of the city. There were some other strengths, including his, not everybody has the same style, right? He is the type of manager that tends to believe in hiring good people and allowing them to do their jobs and then being in a supportive role for them. So that's a different style. Other people have other styles, but that is one that people recognize. They feel respected, they feel trusted, and I think good results are coming from that. Overall communications were thought to be good, but there were some areas of improvement. So those are some of the strengths. They're more that are detailed in the report. I included lots of quotes from the interviews. I did not attribute those quotes. In general, I was looking for themes that emerged from 2 or more of the respondents. So there were a couple of people that had very unique perspectives based on their working relationship with the city manager. I tried to honor the input that was given, but also not have one person's voice, be front and center in all of this. So there were also some areas for potential improvement or opportunities, and they're phrased as opportunities in here. There's a paragraph at the end of the report that emphasizes, I ended up having really good conversations with 11 people, but I live here every single day. I don't know all of the ins and outs of all of this. I think it would be very reasonable for the city manager to read the report, say, some of these opportunities make sense to me, some of these don't make sense to me. Maybe the evaluator misunderstood, or maybe there are other priorities that are higher up on the list for the city of Big Rapids. That's legitimate. But I do think that the city manager should respond to the city commission and say, I've read the report, these are the opportunities, here's what I agree with, and here's what I'm going to do about it. So that comes at the end of the report. But some of those opportunities have to do with the professional development of the city manager himself, skill building, professional development, innovation, and there are lots of ways that the city of Big Rapids can bring skills and knowledge. Sometimes it's through contractors, sometimes it's through direct hires, but as is reasonable in almost any performance evaluation in any job, thinking about the professional development of the city manager, it's important. And there are ways of acquiring those skills that go beyond the community of public officials that the city manager belongs to. Some of those skills have to do with personnel management. The labor markets get tighter and tighter all the time, and I think many of the people I talked to spoke to the need to be able to kind of understand some of the challenges and issues that are emerging and how to manage younger, more diverse employees, and then just kind of staying ahead of building those skills. Some of it related to some of the challenges and opportunities facing the city. So in the report, I emphasized the city manager is being asked to do more than he historically has been in the job. Some of that relates to housing. Housing, big complex issue, requires working in different ways with different partners than maybe has been done in the past. And I think the city manager is, based on my one conversation with him, doing some things to kind of learn, what might be good approaches, but that is a big new world, and there are lots of different tools potentially for the toolkit that the interviewees I spoke to said it'd be really good if the city manager could acquire those skills and knowledge to be able to bring back to the city. But there are other things as well. Sort of ways of innovating and learning new approaches to public management that could be helpful to the city, and that's one area of opportunity. Communications, in general, it was seen as a strength, but there were a couple of areas related both to the communications of the city of Big Rapids, built, sort of acquiring new capabilities, and maybe even things like an internal newsletter so that literally everybody could be on the same page with the same information. There were some opportunities there. People are a little bit split on the personal outreach and community engagement. Generally there are some significant employers in town. It's good for the city manager to build direct relationships. I guess I can speak to you directly when I say this. To build direct relationships with some of those employers. You could spend all of every day, doing some kind of community outreach and, having coffee and lunch with people, and serving on community boards. Somewhere in there, there's a kind of a fine point between staying focused on the business of the city, but also building the relationships in the city that are needed to carry the work forward. So I think it's more just knowing that there are a mix of points of view on that and just keeping people informed. Those were the big areas for potential improvement. There's quite a bit more in the report. Overall, as I sort of said in the opener, it's a very good evaluation. I mean, there was a sense of appreciation for the work that the city manager is doing. Those respondents who'd had experience of other city managers, either at the city of Big Rapids or elsewhere, generally felt like, Mr. Gifford is better than other people they've worked with in some pretty important ways. And so that's kind of where we net out. But there are a number of potential ideas for improvement that are contained in the report. Mostly it's a keep up the good work kind of an evaluation, but with some very specific opportunities to kind of build skill sets personally and on behalf of the city.
Thank you.
Happy to take your questions.
Commissioners first?
I don't have a question just yet, but if I could just give a little context to how we got to this place. And first of all, I want to say thank you very much to all the department heads for participating with this. I know this is the first time we've done this. We felt it was very important to get input from the department heads because you interact and relate with Mr. Gifford in a way that we don't. And yet, as the city commission, it is a vital function of our duties to evaluate the city manager every year. So we had talked about how to go about doing the evaluation in the first place. We were pretty much unanimously not happy with the form we had been using prior because it just didn't give us quite as much context and substance as we would like. So very much appreciate your participation in this. I found it very useful and very helpful myself. Ideally, and we talked about this in our work session little ways back, that we were hoping to possibly use this evaluation and this process as an opportunity to lay the foundation for how we evaluate the city manager going forward. And for our part, it is incumbent upon us to provide Mr. Gifford with priorities that we believe are important for him to be following, working on in order to move the city forward. And as with anything of this kind, in order to create something sustainable, the idea is to absolutely recognize, acknowledge, and celebrate all of the strengths, identify areas that we think could be improved, work with Mr. Gifford on that, and create a system whereby we can see the progress and thereby build on that for any subsequent evaluations. So ideally, the process should keep feeding on itself in a very positive way, assuming that everyone's participating the way they should. So I was delighted to find Woody. I did some research on my own. I talked to the folks up in Traverse City who all recommended him very highly. I'm delighted that you were able to work with us. Say thank you for your time and your effort. And now if anyone has any further questions about the evaluation, please hold forth.
Commissioners?
I thought it was a very thorough job and process, and I appreciated going through it. Evaluations are never fun. It doesn't matter if it's your evaluation or someone you're evaluating, but it's a necessary function. And I think that this was a very positive interaction for everyone, hopefully especially Mark. So thank you.
Good. Public? Please, others? Seeing, hearing none? Thank you. Thanks for driving all the way down. It's 100 quick miles. You'll be home to June.
And I'll stick around for the actual resolution, but thanks again.
The resolution before you is at my request because we didn't have a plan. We didn't have time to have a plan as to what to do with the report. So Mark and Brad promised me that they'd have a good resolution that made good sense tonight. And I read it quickly. Others have comments about the resolution. I don't think Mr. Smith saw the resolution, so I'll read just the last paragraph's the key. Anyone? Questions? The last paragraph says, now therefore be it resolved that the city commission accepts Mr. Smith's report and encourages the city manager to consider the opportunities laid out in the report and develop a written action plan he can share with the commission. Basically, that's the synopsis of the whole thing. Nice writing, Brad.
Tammy had some pertinent too.
Tammy, oh, Tammy, thank you, Tammy. Sorry, Tammy, I didn't mean to snub you. Do I hear a motion for the resolution?
So moved.
Support.
Motion and support. Further questions, anyone? Anything, Mr. Smith? Anyone?
Oh,
Yes.
I do have, I meant to thank Commissioner, Johnson as well, because I believe she worked with
Yes, she
Commissioner
did.
Cochran on this, so thank you to both of
Thank
you.
you. We'll call the question, Tammy.
Hackworth,
Yes.
Heffley,
Yes.
Gunther,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Simmons.
Yes.
Have a safe trip.
Thank you.
You bet. Next is an action, more than a study session, but an action session. The fire department is gonna show us something. I don't know. Steve?
Yes, that's correct. I'll step up, and actually I'm gonna invite up with me Captain Derek Vincent from the Fire Department, firefighter David Vogel, firefighter Michael Livingston. They're actually the duty crew today too, so. they're the ones that are on duty. So, and we do have Bethany Hamilton with us as well, who's a firefighter. I think she's here for another action item, but we'll go through the air packs. So I appreciate the opportunity to come in front of you today and show off our new air packs here. So last fall, we awarded the bid to West Shore Fire and ordered new air packs, if you remember, on the total amount of $176,000.
For just that amount right there?
Yes, this is it. It's a good deal. No, as a matter of fact, we got 19 of these backpacks. We got 38 bottles. We ended up with 37 masks and 1 bottle that's used for firefighter rescue. So hopefully that one goes unused. With that, Captain Vincent here, firefighter David Vogel, these two really were instrumental in helping with the process. Honestly, they helped with getting the bids around, working us through the process there. We had a long time till delivery. A lot of coordination, some back orders, things like that. And I can't thank them enough for making sure that we get this equipment and it's delivered. So with that, I'm gonna turn it over to them to demonstrate it.
All right, so we just wanted to come up and give a brief overview of what's changed since our last air packs from 2010. The new technology, some of the new things that are going to keep us as firefighters safer, in turn helping the citizens as well. So SCBA is a self-contained breathing apparatus. This is what we wear into immediate life or death situations, hazardous environments, and anything like that. The bottle itself is a 4,500 PSI. It's compressed air. A lot of people think that we breathe oxygen when we're going in. It's just ambient air that's compressed 4,500 PSI into this bottle. This bottle itself is 45 minutes, supposed to be 45 minutes in duration. Obviously that depends on the workload and what's happening. But it's a 4,500 PSI, 45-minute bottle. One of the big advancements that everybody really is moving towards, and we were fortunate enough to get it, is a quick disconnect system. It used to be on our old bottles, you'd take all these threads, which are about that long, and have to screw on a regulator to it to get air into the first stage. With these new packs, you just pull on both sides, the bottle slips out, and you can change a bottle in seconds rather than minutes. Where that comes in handy is, especially for short firefighters on scene, you get done using one air pack and stuff still needs to get done on the fire ground. You can come out, take the cylinder off, pop a new cylinder in, turn it on, and you're back in the fire. So that's one of the really big advancements with the bottles, is this quick disconnect. One of the things that is in, sorry, I wrote notes so I wouldn't forget. One of the advancements in this pack that no other pack has is it has a dual redundancy system in the first stage regulator. So the air comes from the bottle into the first stage, it gets reduced down to a breathing pressure, and then it goes to a second stage where there's a slight reduction as well. So this has a dual redundancy where if there was a failure in the old packs in the first stage, you'd be out of air. There would be no air flowing through to your regulator at your mouthpiece. So this has a second first stage regulator in it, where if that first stage fails, it automatically goes to that second stage, so you'll never be in an out of air situation, or I shouldn't say never, hopefully never. So that's one of the big advancements in this pack, and one of the reasons we chose it. Another advancement in this pack is a PAR system that has a software that we can maybe look at in the future that tracks all firefighters on scene wearing a pack. From the exterior, you can look at a computer screen or a tablet and see where everybody's at on their air supply. You can send electric PAR system, which is a check to see, hey, are you okay? And then on the console over here, they can acknowledge it through a simple push button. It reduces radio communication, keeps those lines of communication open for any possible emergency that may arise, and helps track those firefighters. Another big thing that we were really looking for is cancer mitigation. As most of you have probably heard, cancer is rather prevalent in the fire service, and I can speak personally to that as having cancer and beating it a couple years ago. So we wanted to do everything possible to try and mitigate those hazards. So with this pack, it's easily broken down. Everything can be taken off, all the webbing and parts that can hold carcinogens. This can all be broken down, put in a bag, put in the extractor, and given a deep clean. That wasn't really a option on SCBAs before. So that's a really, really big thing that we're going to be doing, is taking those steps to try and reduce that risk that we have for cancer. Another thing with it, another big killer of firefighters is cardiac events on scene due to overexertion. So this pack itself has different systems built into it that make it a lot easier, a lot less restrictive. So in the belt system itself, it bends with you, go both up and down. So if you're doing any overhead work, the pack rises up with you instead of holding your shoulders down and binding. Those are all things that are gonna help with firefighter fatigue and hopefully reduce those risks of any cardiac issues that may arise. Another big thing that we looked at, so this is the second stage regulator. So this is what actually attaches to the face piece and supplies the breathing air. One of the big things that we wanted to get was a quick disconnect rectus fitting. With that, it can be, if I'm wearing this air pack and I do have a failure or my air pack's damaged and I can't get air through this, my buddy can come in with his air pack, we can connect here, and I can connect to his air pack and we can walk out. Along with being able to do that buddy to buddy, we do have what we call a RIP pack. That RIP pack comes in with a 60-minute air bottle and has a bunch of different ways that we can connect and supply air to that person. So this was a really big advancement and a great opportunity, again, to reduce those risks. The mask overall has stayed the same. A couple of the really big advancements that we've had is the design of the mask. It used to be they were a lot flatter and your peripheral visibility was really cut down. With these masks, have better peripheral vision. The regulator itself has better airflow, reducing the fatigue that the firefighter has on the fire ground. One of the biggest things that really sold us on this air pack was Scott's advancement with communications. If you read any after-action incident reports with firefighter injuries or fatalities, usually right towards the top, if not the number one, is failure of communication that led to progressing to that injury or fatality. One of the things in this mask has a communication system built into it with bone conduction technology from the military. So it rests on the side of your head up here, keeping your ears open to ambient environment, and radio communication comes through this bone conduction. And then there's a mic down in the mask where it used to be that we would have to hold up a radio and shout through the mask to get radio communication. I can leave that radio in my hip, on my coat jacket, on a radio strap like firefighter Vogel's wearing, hit the button and communicate, and then all the interfaces right through the mask. It's absolutely unbelievable, extremely clear. We put it through its paces. It's phenomenal. So that was one of the really big things that pushed us towards this setup. So I'll talk about a couple different things. Firefighter Livingston is just going to kind of put it on for you, show you where those straps go, and then just so you're able to see it. And if you have any questions, I can take questions while he's doing that. The weight reduction. So our old packs weighed about 16 pounds. These packs are about 14 pounds. So again, they changed a couple things with the metal backing, went to a polymer, reducing that firefighter fatigue again.
So every fire you go, how do you decide when you have to do this?
So anytime you're going to be in an environment where it's smoke-filled, hazardous, so these would be hazmat situations too. You have a ruptured tank up at the hospital of medical gas or anything like that. This would be what we would wear in those environments as well.
Yeah, anything potentially hazardous could be wearing these.
For the crew that's on duty when we leave the station, we're putting all this stuff on en route to the scene. We hop in the truck with our clothes on, and the air pack we're putting on the way to the scene. They're right in the seats of our apparatus. So for the oncoming crew that are responding in their own vehicle or grabbing another truck, they grab it out of a cabinet when they get there.
Yeah, that gear, when a firefighter's going out the door with the duty crew, they're in all of the gear that you saw Firefighter Livingston in. So, and we're still average response time here in the city of just under 4 minutes. So they're getting out of the station in that gear in the truck and going. And like we said, those are built right into the seats, so they can be putting them on the way.
Can you move your arms around and stuff with all that stuff on?
Yeah,
Just looks like it would bind you all on.
What I was talking about before,
It could feel concerning.
this pack, as he moves left to right or up and down, this pack will move with him. So you see that articulation in the pack. That's one of the things that most of the manufacturers are starting to do, is to reduce that binding and reduce that fatigue.
How many different manufacturers did you look at? I'm guessing you brought samples in and
Yep.
you only make
We
a
did.
purchase like this every whatever.
Yeah,
So
Yeah, this is-
tell
we
us
looked
about
at,
that process.
Yeah, we looked at 3 different air packs.
Yep.
So, and actually it came down to the Scott Safety by 3M, which is the ones we ended up purchasing, and we also looked at a Draeger air pack. And actually Draeger was a front runner for a little while.
Yep.
But Scott ended up, due to the features. All the air packs have very similar features, but it was really how the features come together in the 3M that led us to these ones.
And then can you refresh my memory? Was this CIP funding that we put aside
Yes.
for 3
It
years
was.
or something like that?
2 years.
2 years,
2 years we put, okay, thank you.
Did you say we didn't buy the software?
We have not purchased it yet.
Go through that one again slower.
Okay.
Well, and real quick before
Yep.
you start, I was just gonna say, because I know how you like acronyms, Mayor. He had said the PAR software has a personal accountability report.
Okay.
So it's basically our tracking, personal accountability on scene. So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly what that is. It's so right now, if I'm in command on the exterior of a structure fire, these 2 guys are inside working. I obviously can't go inside there with them and run scene from the outside, so I don't know what's going inside. So right now, I get on the radio and I bother them every once in a while and say, "Hey, what's going on? What's your PAR? Give me a CAN report or a PAR report. What are you seeing? What are you feeling? What are the conditions? Are you finding the fire? Are you finding a victim?" And that's taking up radio communication. So potentially with that software, if I wanted to check and see how Firefighter Livingston was doing on his air, I can look at the computer and go, all right, he's down to 3,000 PSI, so he's burned through 1,500. I'm gonna have to start looking at who's in my staging, who do I have available to replace him when he starts getting his low air alarm. One of the things that changed for NFPA, which is standards that we follow, is used to be our low air alarm went off at 25% of the bottle. In 2018, they changed that now to 33% of the bottle. So it's to reduce the chance that something happens when you're getting low on air to be able to get out. With that comes not quite as much work time. So when that firefighter's inside, now he's hitting that 33%, hitting that low air at 33%, got to get out. where before it was 25. But that PAR system could potentially have us plan out a little bit more. And then with that electric check, I could click a button and say, hey, how you doing? Inside his mask is a heads-up display with little lights in it. Those will start flashing, as well as his pass device or his alarm. I won't touch that off because that's rather loud. That would start going off, and then he could just acknowledge, yep, I'm good, just by clicking a button. So,
Was it hugely more money? Is that what the problem was?
to build the pack with it in it costs nothing more. The software costs, and it's pretty significant. So for purposes of getting what we really needed right now, we chose not to do that right now, and to get some extra masks and some more of the communications masks. So we chose not to do that, put that money towards some other things, and then maybe potentially in the future, look at that.
How much, Steve?
I'm not sure on the number right now, but
I think the software was $12,000. So
Yeah.
it's significant.
Questions?
and we're looking at doing some things here in the future to put electronic, computers and things at their fingertips on scene anyway, so that might be an integration project in the future.
Public questions? The Drager makes good anesthesia machines. I don't know if you.
They make very good air packs.
They did
The
make theirs. They were
air packs we
close
looked
by.
at were all good. Just like he said, like Chief said, the features that they had. What really tipped us over was the communications device. So having that, he could turn that mask on right now and connect to his radio, and we'd have instant communication that was unimpeded.
And prior to, honestly, it was inside, we could go face to face with the masks and barely be able to communicate. It was a lot of, what'd you say? And it's not a real muffled. So having this is definitely a game changer.
Do all volunteers also know how to work all that stuff?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like the Big Rapids Township Fire Department have that kind of stuff?
They actually, I was gonna comment on that next too, that Big Rapids Township did also purchase these air packs. Macasta Township down in Stanwood purchased these air packs. And Morton Township, Canadian Lakes also went with them. And Morley, thank you.
So they all followed the lead
So-
of Big Rapids.
Well, it was all about the same time, honestly, but.
I'd like to say we were in the front.
Very good. Commissioners?
I'm just imagining, time is of the essence, obviously, when you are fighting fires, and God bless you for being willing to go in there in the first place, oh my God. So to have things that really, enhance your ability to communicate, make those quick decisions safely is all to the good. So I'm delighted that you found these and that we were able to acquire them. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you for the support. Yes, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I put in for the 12,000 fast.
Making a note, Mayor.
Rosemary?
Mike, you can go ahead and talk.
Yeah.
I've almost got tears in my eyes because whatever we can do for our firemen, whatever we can do for our policemen, we need to do. They're out there protecting us. I've had personal experience lately with the fire department. And what a terrific group of people. And I've told them before, and thank you, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart, because you don't see mobile homes left standing after a fire very often. It was gone, but it was standing. Terrific bunch of people. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rosemary. Thank you. Others? Hearing none, thank you for the demonstration.
So if I can, real quick, I have one other thing that I'd really like to show you real fast.
Sure.
So just recently, we were awarded, thanks to the grant writer at the time, Flora, we were awarded a grant from TC Energy. That grant was able to purchase us 8 new thermal imaging cameras. So thermal imaging camera is just that. It picks up heat signatures. So it's a little bit hard to see, but as you scan the room, you can see people sitting, and I'll do it this way too. So what this does is helps us inside a fire to locate victims. In the event we do have a downed firefighter, this could be used to find locate a downed firefighter. Some other areas that we could use this, if a firefighter were to get disoriented or lost inside a structure, heat signatures obviously are one color. We can look at the ground and find a hose line that has cold water running through it to be able to get us out to the truck. Shining it at the window, I have different heat signatures on the window from the exterior than I do on the inside. So that could potentially lead a lost or disoriented firefighter to safety. Some other areas of operation we could use this for, victim lost in the woods. We have people that wander out to look for morel mushrooms or something like that. In the middle of the night, flashlights only go so far. You can scan and see heat signatures in the woods with these really nicely. So I just wanted to point those or show you those real quick. So these ones are designed to be more easily carried. So typically what we use for a thermal imager, and this has a lot more features built into it, and some bigger screen, a little bit better visibility. But as you can see, it's a little bit bulky. So for somebody to carry that interior on a fire can be a little bit cumbersome. So these are nice and light, where they can clip onto somebody's gear or be put in a pocket, and when needed, can be pulled out and used. So I just wanted to brush on that real quick, that we were able to get that funding through TC Energy with a full grant, no match, and we're able to purchase 8 of these with a bank of chargers.
Which one's TC Energy?
Used to be TransCanada, the gas line.
TransCanada did.
Yep. So TC Energy is their new name.
That's their new name.
So we've been very fortunate. We've gotten 2 grants recently. One 3 years ago for grass pumps, and then these most recently. So I just wanted to touch on.
Do they have their own fire crews out there?
They do not.
They do not.
Nope. Any questions?
Anybody? Questions?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Imagine putting that stuff on, running into a fire. General business, we're gonna make Todd wait till his time in order.
Oh,
He doesn't wanna go home. General business. We don't wanna do that today. Any public comment not related to anything on the agenda? Hearing none, we'll move on. Commissioner. Resolution awarding the bid for sanitary and storm sewer cleaning and television and smoking and all those neat things.
Mayor, I'll tackle
We've
this.
used them forever. They've been around here a lot. And
Plumbers?
Plumbers
We have.
without a B. It's plumbers without a B. It always throws me off.
There, we had 2 bids, as you saw, plumbers and pipe tech. It's sort of interesting in analyzing the difference between the two in terms of minimum footage and so on, but plumbers is cheaper, and we're very comfortable working with them and recommend signing the contract to continue doing so.
Questions, anyone? Do I hear a motion for the resolution for plumbers to do our sewer cleaning and television?
So moved.
Support.
Motion and support. Further questions? Tammy?
Epley?
Yes.
Gunther?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Simmons?
Yes.
Cochran?
Yes.
Yeah, are you guys staying for another reason? Okay. Just check. You mean the contract thing?
Thank you.
Just check. Oh, police's contract must be coming due, and now they got a 25-year contract. We got them down to 5 plus 2 and 2, or 1 and 1. Or...
Yeah, I think
Mark?
we're 5 and 2 and 2. Yes, Mayor, we've worked with Police of Vandenbrink for quite some time, and their contract had expired, and Heather and I coordinated going through the process of evaluating who we wanted to work with in the future. We interviewed 2 firms, Police of Vandenbrink and Gordy Frazier out of Traverse City. Had very nice conversations with both, but in the end are very satisfied with the work that police provides to us. You'll see in the contract, it lists long list of very familiar names to all of us who are invested in the infrastructure of Big Rapids. Bob, Todd, Scott Hall, John Moxley, all those folks, there's others too, but these engineers know our systems, they know us, and we are comfortable working together and have had a lot of success doing so. Recommend continuing that path, Mayor. You're right, this is a 5-year contract, and I think there's two-year extensions, so could go as long as 9 years. The contract mentions I don't know what we refer to it as, but it talks about the list of fees, and we put the list of fees at your table. And happy to answer any questions.
Todd, anything?
I just want to thank the staff and the commission. It's been really enjoyable working with the city of Big Rapids over the years. And I really feel like we're a team out there trying to get things done. It's a really nice community to come into and feel like you're a partner at the table and helping to get projects completed. So, and you've got a great staff working on behalf of the city, and I've enjoyed working with the commission as well.
Thank you. I have one quick comment before we jump. Your firm did the paperwork that the demographer needed to get us our tax dollars back. And I said to Mark, why would police do this? He said, they do everything.
I don't know who else.
It's worked. Even though $500,000 a year that you helped us retrieve. The demographer really did the job. Mark took it from there, but police did the paperwork and it worked, and that's a wonderful thing. So thank you.
Yeah, that was a great find on Mark's part there to identify that potential and be able to recoup that.
Todd said, what are we doing?
We haven't been down there.
And you got it in on time.
And the Bob Wilcox isn't Wilcox Engineering from Cadillac.
Unrelated.
I ask that every time.
Oh, my God.
No water pressure up on the hill over there. We got a vote. Tammy, did we vote?
We need a motion.
Did we motion? Did we vote?
We have a question.
Oh.
Do you have any interns from Veris in any of your departments, do you know? I know you have a construction management department.
You know, I don't know offhand if we have any.
Just
We
curious.
we attend the Ferris Career Fairs when we can, and we're
Thank
always
you for
looking
that.
because they do have that construction component that we're looking for, and even the beginning stages towards getting a civil engineering degree. The construction technology is what I look for in my dealings. So
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Is there a motion for extending the police and vendor break contract?
So moved. Support.
Motion and support. Other questions? Anything? Tammy?
Johnson,
Yes.
Simmons,
Yes.
Cochran,
Yes.
Epley,
Yes.
Gunther.
Yes. Thank you, Todd.
thank you.
Did that engineer for Mead Hunt come?
I think Steve's gonna
It's
tackle
all
this
me.
one.
It's all me tonight.
Yeah, yeah. Steve, what's going on with that one?
All right, so this is the next contract for the runway extension project. When we were here last time, we talked about the environmental assessment and the runway protection zone analysis. And so this will be the next one. This is the design of the actual project. So they need to get started on that so that the design can be completed, so that we can actually go out to bid on time and keep the project moving ahead. So this is the design component of it. As part of that, Mead Hunt, of course, as our engineers for the airport, they did work up their scope. We did, as required by the FAA, and did an independent fee evaluation, which I believe is in your packet as well. So we did do that through the requirement, and it does appear that they're within the scope and actually slightly below the scope on contract costs. So this would be allowing them to move ahead with the contract and the design. They would do the engineering surveys, work on the detailed construction plans, estimate the probable construction costs, do the engineering reports, and then prepare for all phases of construction, and then also assist us with the bidding process all the way through. So this again, this cost here for $321,929.14. That contract cost is reimbursable, and hopefully their billing goes by the month based on what they're doing at the time. And we did receive, I believe at the last commission meeting or the one prior, some of the MDOT funding towards that as far as the transfer, and we'd be looking to receive the rest of it hopefully this fall is what the timeline looks like. That's what we're hearing from MDOT, that it looks like that's when it's going to come in. So we would be, our obligation locally would be 5% of that amount. Be happy to take any questions.
Which we budgeted, the match.
Yeah, the match.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 5% match, yeah.
Questions, commissioners? Mark, I've only been doing this for 2 years, and I have never seen where somebody makes us get a second opinion on an engineering item. It's the first time I've ever heard it. You get an engineering thing for several $100,000, then you have to get somebody else to see if they were cheating or not. That seems weird.
It's the only place we've ever do it, and it's required is at the airport, and it's a federal requirement.
But we do projects that are bigger than this one.
Yeah.
Just putting the road in at Mechanic Street was $1 million. But they don't make you get a second opinion engineering. No, there's no entity that.
My speculation on that, Mayor, is that the airport engineers is a nuanced field. There's not a lot of them.
Right.
So you have to hire another one to.
Well, I think what it can end up is with one engineer that does the work for, like the one we had before Mead and Hunt. I don't know how
Brandon
long.
Newlaw, I believe it was.
Well, yeah, but that was because they bought out a person. Anyhow, you can have them for this very long extended period of time that are, and the whole region could have the same engineer for 30 years. And I think that lends to somebody saying, maybe we should check this. That's my guess. That's the only place we ever have to do it.
Carla, I didn't see the bill on that second opinion. What was the bill on that second opinion?
What was that?
Anybody remember that one? Steve, you remember?
I don't remember. I know the environmental assessment, IFE, because we had to do one for that, was around $5,000.
Yeah,
which
we have to pay 5% of that.
Yes, we do get reimbursed as part of that, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say 4,500.
So yeah, I believe it is something like that for the design, but yeah.
And so who picked that person?
So we just had to pick a different word. No, we were able to choose any of the airport engineers. So we had heard about CNS and the work that they do, so we had CNS do it. Yeah.
Thank you. Is there a motion to hire Mead and Hunt to do the engineering for the runway extension?
So moved.
Support.
Got our motion support. Questions? Tammy?
Shevin,
Yes.
Cochran,
Yes.
Epley,
Yes.
Gunther,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Mark, at the meeting that I just had on Monday, there were some mayors there who don't have airports and never will have airports because they unload airports as fast as they can.
I
Sorry,
understand.
Steve, I just wanted to fill you in on that one. They cost money.
Yeah, it's a regional
In
service.
fact, when I said something about our extension, what was going on, like the room went quiet. Like, why would you guys have an airport? It's rare, extremely rare for a city to own an airport. We should work on that, Mark. Carla, a resolution to clean up the budget for the end of this year, is that correct?
Yes.
And you sent us some really detailed evaluations of things that were over or under and how that all worked,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes, I have a few comments too.
Sure.
Throughout the year, we're able to do internal budget amendments that don't go before the commission. So within the general fund, like in the treasurer's office, if we go over on our supply line item, but we have money in our contracted services, we can do a transfer between those two. And then, so the department head puts a request in, gets approved by the treasurer, then it gets approved by Mark, and then it gets posted. Towards the end of the year, we kind of run out of that option, where we either, certain funds need help from the general fund, or they need to take the money from their fund balance or their retained earnings. So this is what you have in front of you.
Mayor, I'll comment a little bit too, if that's okay. So we looked down through, we talked about the library, we talked about the airport, we talked about Dial-A-Ride, And there's a couple others. The motor pool staff car it got funded in one year and the money wasn't carried forward into the next. The library, the majority of this issue is the work done in the park, and it's another fiscal year issue because that project took eons longer than it was supposed to. And so it's a matter of 1 year to the next. The airport fund, I still can't wrap my head around having there's zero budgeted in the fuel account. Obviously, that's a mistake. I'm not sure how that got by any of us, but it's there, and Carla has to deal with it. And Dial-A-Ride, I'll talk about that because it's something we have been wrestling with as a community, really, is how to fund Dial-A-Ride and how to keep drivers. We have like, I think 15 Dial-A-Ride drivers Melissa talked to me about.
Yeah.
And we lose them all the time, and we hire them all the time. And that has led to us trying to compete on wages with really our name, like we have two competitors, MOTA being one, and then the public schools is another. And so we've raised wages, I think, twice in this
July
year.
of 22, and then we did January 1 of
And that's
23.
just trying to be competitive, and we're still behind, I think. And so that is the nature of, at least an explanation on some of these different things you're seeing. Hopefully that is helpful as you look at these numbers. It's, Dial-A-Ride is a challenge to fund and be competitive in. We have part-time drivers, other places have full-time drivers, so, you know, and we have a dispatcher, part-time dispatcher too, and we hired another full-time. It's just, it's a tough battle, and that has resulted in us being over on salaries, which is really no surprise.
But it's interesting, it's always the same four things, I know.
It really is.
Yes.
The airport,
Yeah.
Dial-A-Ride,
Library.
The library.
So either we're not getting it together on really budgeting properly, or we're just letting it happen each June.
I think we can do better. We'll work on that, Mayor.
Good. Do I hear a motion to the resolution amending the fiscal year budget?
So moved.
Support.
There's a motion support. Questions further? Tammy?
Cochran,
Yes.
Epley,
Yes.
Gunther,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda, I wondered why you were here, chief.
Oh, I know.
Me? I did not know that the housing commission helps pay the salary of one of our police officers to give them a different level of service. And is that,
More or less. So for over 20 years, we've been partnering with the Housing Commission to provide them an officer as a liaison, somebody that they can call if there's questions or concerns, get answers and response quite quickly. We have a fantastic Housing Commission, and it has changed a lot in 20 years. So the type of services they need from police have lessened, and we're able to do more of the proactive community engagement type things. And we're just looking to continue that on for another 3 years.
why does the name change quite often?
3 years ago, we changed the name because it's no longer dedicated to a side of town or an area neighborhood. It is for the community. So, I mean, aside from that, I don't know that there was a name change before. I mean, 20 years is East Side to me.
That's what,
Yeah,
that's all
East
I've
Side.
ever known it as too.
But the housing commission's all on the east side.
Except for the.
No, except for the.
Oh,
Nesbitt
Nesbitt
Fairman.
Would you cover them extra as well?
Mhm.
Extra services, et cetera?
Well, it's just more availability and information, the coffee with the cop things, all of those extra tidbits that we do to bring the community events with law enforcement and fire and such, so.
Thank you.
911.
Questions? Anyone? Hearing no questions. Do we have a resolution yet? Do we have a motion yet?
So moved.
Support.
Support. For the new housing commission policing services contract.
Epley,
Yes.
Gunther?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Simmons?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
Oh, the firefighters union, we're gonna cancel that till next month.
Mayor, I'll start, and then I'll turn it over to Melissa. Very happy to be here bringing this to you this evening. We had, on behalf of the city, the bargaining team was myself, Chief Schroeder, Melissa in HR, and then her assistant Simone. And on behalf of the union, we have two of the folks who were right in the bargaining, firefighter Vogel, firefighter Hamilton, both here. And then we had Captain Weathington and Captain Hull. And the process was always open and always honest, and I appreciate it. So it was a great group to work with, and I think what Melissa, I'll ask Melissa to present is fair on both sides. So, thank you.
Thank you, please, Melissa.
Yeah. So as outlined in my position paper to the commission, I like to kind of, summarize, everything that was changed in the contract. One thing that you may notice is that the current contract expires December 31st of 2023. And we're proposing that this new 2-year contract actually starts early and starts July 1st of 2023 and then runs for 2 years. That's for a couple different reasons. Obviously, a hot topic was paid parental leave, and we wanted to make sure that that was something that was effective as soon as we possibly could. So that was one of the things, and it's always good if you're changing things for the good, why not have them be effective sooner than later? So that's just a little background on that. So we had agreed to a 3.5% increase so total of 7% over the 2 years. So January of 24 and then July of 24 would be that second increase. I refer to some things as far as kind of housekeeping and cleaning some things up. The holiday benefits, we had deleted the sentence about an employee that exceeds the maximum accumulation. Section 15.3, which was long-term disability insurance coverage, we deleted the up to the maximum. So whenever you have pay changing, often because of contract language, then you have to go back and update that. So we left it, so it had a percentage and a maximum dollar amount. So we took away the maximum dollar amount and then just stuck with the percentage there. Housekeeping, last time, we had tried to clean up all of where it referenced the Director of Public Safety with the Chief. So we did that. We had missed a section there. Reduced the number of hours for paid union business. That's where the city allows hours for employees for union business. We added the paid parental leave. We are still, working on the fine details of how that, is to be implemented, but it's, agreed on both sides that the paid parental leave is the 6 weeks. Sick leave credit, that was increased slightly from number of days to number of hours per pay period. Loaned sick leave, we've pulled that out of union contracts so that all employee groups are following the same policy, and the fire contract was the last one that we were pulling that out and having a general policy. So loaned sick leave, if you're not familiar with that, many years ago, we had an employee who had a situation that received a diagnosis shortly after being hired, didn't have leave. They were going to need to be off for surgery, treatments, etc. And a group of employees said, we want to help this coworker out and donate our leave. So through the years, it's changed. Different departments used to have their own banks, and now the city collectively donates to each other, which I think is great. I think that speaks to the city of Big Rapids and the employees that we have, that everyone thinks of each other as a part of a big family. So I think that's great. Food allowance, we increased slightly from $1,230 to $1,500 annually, and that's paid in arrears. Section 24.5, examinations. So it speaks to the process that we go through if there's a question, about medical results, that sort of thing. So we wanted to say, make sure that it was clear that if a second opinion was needed, that it's a mutually agreed upon, qualified provider. So just to clarify, the language there on that. Drug use and testing, we added language regarding adding a field sobriety test to be performed if there's any suspicion of an individual under the influence. And then lastly, the section 25.2 definition of retirement. It's said as it applies to the sick leave section only. So we don't, I think if I can recall, that really kind of speaks more to when we had a defined benefit true pension plan. They actually referred to the definition of retirement in the sick leave section, and it spoke to specific benefits. And that doesn't really apply the way that it used to. So we took that section out. So just like I'll reiterate echo what Mark said. It was, I think we met maybe 4 or 5 times, very productive sessions. It's always great to work with the groups. So.
Mark, is it unusual to not have the attorney for each group do all the bargaining? This it's so refreshing, because when the hospital bargained, it was always this fancy guy from Detroit who came in and it didn't know us, and it was all.
There was a time, it's my understanding.
Yeah,
there
there
was a time where we did that here. We haven't done it in a long time. It's interesting working with the firemen, because a lot of times you have, they won't necessarily have an attorney, but they would have a union rep.
Sure.
Where we just hash it out. The local firemen and the city staff, we don't have that. It's a unique part there, but yeah, we haven't had the labor attorneys. We have been able to go with other, yeah.
And there's times, I mean, Brad can say that, we've called, we've been in discussions and, say, okay, I want to just clarify, type thing. So it's not that we don't utilize, the city attorneys, but, wherever we can, I think it's great. And like I said, I think it speaks to, the groups, the employee, the union group representatives and administration being able to work well together.
Very good. Yes, sir, please.
So, Derek, I'm Secretary Treasurer for Local 1776, our firefighter union. Captain Weathington is our president. He's our leader, as you know. He was at his daughter's last softball game tonight, so he wasn't able to make it. We spoke on the phone earlier. He wanted to just have me say a word and thank Mr. Gifford, Mrs. Hauger, Chief Schroeder, the commission, and the citizens for working with us. As everybody said so far, it's always a positive thing. I was on the negotiating team on our last contract. I was on a previous negotiating team at another employer, and how refreshing it was to do negotiations here for exactly what you talked about. The previous ones I've been involved with had attorneys from both sides, and it was just non-productive and wasn't the most fun. No offense. Sorry, sir. So being here and having that open communication and that positive feedback back and forth, we really appreciate it. We wanted to thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have a resolution for the fire contract?
So support.
Motion support. Further questions? Tammy?
Johnson?
Yes.
Simmons?
Yes.
Cochran?
Yes.
Epley?
Yes.
Gunther.
Yes. Unscheduled business. The only thing I had, and I'm going to bring it up first, Mark had said that some of the commissioners had talked to him about inviting our 2 county commissioners who represent portions of the city to our meetings, and I have never formally done that. I thought it was a given that if they wanted to come, they could come. Maybe it's not a given. Mark had reservations, I had some, but I have I'd love to, if the group here wants me to do a personal invitation to all county commissioners, I'd be glad to. I don't have any problem with that. But I do agree that the two that represent the city should probably take some interest in being there. But don't go down the word. I don't ever do it to Steve anymore.
Point at me.
Direct quote.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was Commissioner Johnson
Somebody
or
brought it-
Commissioner Simmons.
Somebody brought it up.
We had
I think it's a
watched,
good idea.
Green Township board meeting.
Oh, yeah, they always go.
And-
Randy Nutter always goes.
Was it you and I can't remember
Yeah,
who
we have
talked about
discussed it, and
Yeah.
I just have not had an opportunity to reach out to either
It'd be
one of
Chris
those
or Bill Roundley.
commissioners. Yeah, I think it would be great to extend an invitation.
That's the premise, the extent that I worry about.
And maybe it's a work session where we just,
One of those.
talk about issues that are going on in
And
the
have
county.
a personal invitation for that specific study session.
Yes, yeah, study session or a work session, something to that effect.
Okay, that was good.
I'll just
input.
say, earlier in my tenure on the commission, I used to go to the county commission meetings on a fairly regular basis. And they actually expressed appreciation, for the cross-pollination, if you will. So I'm not even
Nothing
sure
wrong with
a
it.
formal invitation is necessary, but we would certainly let them know that they are most welcome.
Very good. Anyone else? Mark?
Steve, go.
I was just gonna do that when you can't take that from the.
Please take.
God.
No,
It's right here, Rick. You wanna see it?
No, I don't want to see it.
He's
No,
trying to
take-
steal that from the mayor.
Take it away.
You're not the face of the city.
But I don't want to be.
Steve, welcome.
Thank you.
There's a lot of work to be done.
Tons of work. My first day was last Thursday and worked the last couple days and then started again today, and 15 years in radio. And so getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning every single day and doing that, it's a breath of fresh air to, wake up at 5 maybe. But,
The sun comes up?
yeah, when the sun comes up. And so, I'd like to thank Mark and Tammy and Melissa, because they interviewed me and they were great, and then got the got the letter and I accepted, and so I'm ready to hit the ground running. And my first few days, Melissa and Tammy and Heather and Mark, they've just been great and welcoming and anything I need. And Tammy been hitting home the Charter Revision Commission applicants. So I had to do an Airfest interview on Big Country and Y102, and she's like, "Can you mention this?" I was like, "Of course I will, of course." So no, everyone's been very welcoming, and I cannot wait to get my bearings and I'm starting to feel kind of normal again, because the first couple days I was like, all this information's coming at me and it's getting a little overwhelmed, but then today has been really, really good. So I can't wait to provide communications for the city and talk to everyone and
I
talk with
said,
commissioners.
he doesn't have to be, no longer has to take the middle of the road.
Right.
He can now just say the city's really doing good things.
You're doing great.
Bad.
You're doing great. So, yeah.
So, adding on to that, might we be able to have a work session or a study session to revisit marketing and communications? I think that would be great.
Sure.
And then, speaking about the Charter Commission, could we get some sort of press release or something like that we could, a write-up that we could share with people? I'd like to share it with Ferris, and then potentially, if we could do something in the Pioneer.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Sure, we'll get that
Definitely.
together. And help us know what exactly to tell people when they say, what is the charter?
Yeah, if I could get a cheat,
Well,
yeah, a
the
cheat sheet.
private question is, what is the charter?
Period.
Period.
Right.
What is the charter?
Sorry, Mark, I didn't mean to.
No, you did right on. I think Mayor Steve was gonna comment on this.
Oh,
So
so
the
you've got a lot of time.
Oh, yeah, I know, I did take a lot of the time with me, so I'll be brief. I just wanted to make sure that I invited the commission out. Airfest is this coming Saturday at the airport, so it's our one big, community event, outreach event. It's gonna run 9 to 1 out at the airport, and we're anticipating a good flying day. So we're gonna have several airplanes. 2019, actually, we had 67 airplanes for Airfest. So lots of different varieties to see and all that. We're hoping to get back, of course, COVID slowed us down a bit, so we're hoping to get back to those numbers. But anticipate a nice day out there. We've got 2 food vendors. They're gonna be out there. Yellow Window will be out there, and we also have a hot dog vendor.
But you fired the pancake flipper.
We don't have a pancake
flipper.
We don't have a pancake flipper.
Cancel
No, that's,
Steve.
we went more for food trucks, but yeah, I believe Aeromed's planning on flying in, and we'll have fire trucks there as a static display as well, so. Yeah,
Wait, are
time.
you offering mayor for next year?
Yes.
You know, I appreciate it. I missed it.
That's what I heard him saying, that he wants to bring it back.
I heard yet software for
Maybe
Airfest,
next
pancake
year.
flipping for
And
mayor.
he'll
yeah.
do pancakes next year.
Well, the firemen get a food allowance. They should come out and flip the pancakes.
I'll flip pancakes for you, sir.
I've got something, Mayor. Just a reminder that the city commission meetings, because of 4th of July, are gonna be July 10th and the 17th, not the first one in the month. Not the first Monday.
All right. Anyone else? Yes,
One more
please.
thing. As a reminder, this Sunday is the second Big Rapids Pride Day. It is in North End Park. I believe there'll be shuttles like there were last year. Food trucks, vendors, are really great. It was great last year, and I can't wait to go this year. As a reminder, that's going on Sunday. Sounds like a busy weekend.
They're saying it's going to be a bigger turnout this year too. They're anticipating, so.
Yeah.
The way the transportation worked last time was
That
really
was
good.
fantastic.
Anyone else? We'll stand adjourned.